Do you ever feel like you're grieving the wrong way? Today in our studio, we have local author Mistie Doyle to talk about her story and how she came to write her new book, Grief is More Than Gray.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Shieldmaidens podcast. This is the place where we hope you'll come to be raised up to be a warrior for Christ while also learning how to fight back against the enemy. And the whole time we really just want to point you to Jesus. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Riley.
We're your hosts. We're glad that you're here today. We have a great conversation ready, like we said, with our friend Mistie that we'll get to in just a second. Before we do that, though, if you would please subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, that would be so helpful. Like any of our videos that you have enjoyed, we'd love comments, anything that you're interested in, or if you need prayer. And then if you're listening on the audio only version, we'd love if you'd follow along there and leave us a review. It'll help spread the word. So with that, though, get all that business out of the way, and we'll start our conversation with our friend. We have Mistie Doyle in the house today.
Hi, hello.
I feel like we need like an applause.
We know some cool people.
Like the applause background, like yay!
Yes, that's wonderful.
Mistie Doyle. Mistie's been with us before, though. This is our second time. You're a pro.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, we're excited to have you back.
We're so glad that you're here.
So today we just want to dig into your story a little bit about who you are, what God's done in your life, and then obviously how you came to write this fantastic book.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you for having me, and I have lots to say.
And we're
ready.
Okay, give us all your words.
So years ago, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and our family, obviously, we worried and we grieved, and ultimately, he died. God chose to heal him in heaven, but the night he died, we were all in the room, and my sisters, my mom, our spouses, I think a few, like maybe his siblings, I can't remember everyone, but we were all there. And the moment he died, that moment where like he pushed out earth and breathed in heaven, we all responded so differently. And in the moment, I did not think anything of it because I was only thinking of my response. But in that moment, we all just responded so differently. And so looking back a few months, a few weeks into our just raw, awful grief, I thought we all responded. Like I surprised myself. I clapped. I said, Daddy's in heaven. He's in heaven. And I was so happy for him. My nephew was just on the floor sobbing. My sisters were quiet. My mom just, I don't know if it was shock or just ready. And she said, okay, so someone needs to take me home. I'm ready to go. Like that was it. And so none of those are right and none of those are wrong. They're all just different. Yeah. And people think that different is wrong. So as we started our grief journey, we all, just like that night, how we responded, we all responded to our grief journey differently. And one night I was talking to a friend who had also lost a parent too soon. And she said, Mistie, grief is not a checklist. It's not a checklist. Why are you trying to? And it really triggered something in me. And it really made me think, why am I trying to go through this checklist for grief? You know, growing up, your parents teach you lots, they teach you how to ride a bike and you learn how to read in school, but nobody really sits down and teaches you how to grieve. But our culture, without saying it, has kind of said, well, you go through these stages and you're in shock and then you're in denial and then the last is acceptance. And so even though no one ever sat down and said, this is how you grieve, I had these preconceived ideas. I had this path that I thought, oh, this is how I grieve. And so I kept feeling like, am I grieving the wrong way because I'm not in shock? Am I grieving the wrong way because I'm not in denial? I was ready for him to go and stop suffering. My mom several times said, should I feel this way? And I said to her one time, well, why not? Who wrote the manual on grief? There is none. And so I started writing kind of a non-manual, really like bucking the manual, like no, it's okay that everybody grieves differently. So I really started writing when Daddy was diagnosed. And
Which was, do you know what year?
I don't.
No. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. I would have to do math, and math is hard. So I started writing when he was diagnosed. Surgeries, chemo, radio, all the things. We did that for 7 years. And so we squeezed 7 years out of him, which is great. But when he died, then I really kicked up into the writing and just felt like if I need this and this is helping me and this is therapeutic to me, maybe it would help someone else. And so I actually started writing parts of this book 10 years ago.
Wow.
And then life happened.
Yeah.
And I had kids. And then
Had you had any?
I had Neela.
That's
I
what
had
I
one.
thought. And then you were pregnant?
Yes.
Lincoln?
When he died, I was pregnant with Lincoln, my second. And the year after he died, the year he died, it'll be 10 years next week.
Oh my.
The year he died, I got pregnant with the twins.
Surprise!
What a year that was.
4 babies in 4 years?
And 3.
In 3.
Oh.
Sorry. 3. That's a lot.
Yeah, twins, because
Yes,
math
yeah.
is hard. So I had Neela, and she was a year. He died shortly after her first birthday. I think he kind of pushed through Christmas, and he pushed through her first birthday, and then was ready. Yeah. He was ready. We were all ready.
Yeah.
But I started really writing that year in 2015. So when he died, I was angry and I was really disappointed. I was disappointed in God. And I don't apologize for saying that because I think God is a big God and he can take all our emotions. If he can't handle what we are honestly expressing him, he's God of everything or he's God of nothing. And so I felt okay to say, I am really disappointed because you could have healed him and you didn't. But something really changed for me. And I won't read all of it, but it's in Luke 24. And I'd read it growing up in church. I've heard this story. You hear it a lot at Easter. Jesus, just to set the context, he died and he had risen, but hadn't really revealed himself to everyone, just the moment. And so in Luke 24:13, when I read this again through the lens of grief, my eyes read it differently. And so these men, they're his followers, they're on their way to Emmaus, the walk to Emmaus everyone talks about. They're on their way to Emmaus, and Jesus is there, but he hasn't revealed himself, so they don't know
He's
that
walking
it's him.
with them, right?
He's walking beside them, and he's like, "Why are you sad?" And I'm paraphrasing. They kind of are like, "Seriously, are you
Didn't
under
hear
a
what
rock?
happened?"
Bruh,
Yeah.
like what? Bruh. You the only one that don't know? I think they said it just like that.
I
For
bet
sure.
they did.
For
if
sure.
Mistie Doyle would have been there, that's what would have
Right.
happened.
Would have been.
Right. So they're like, haven't you heard about all the things? And he's, what things? And so they start to tell him all about himself. We had hoped, we thought he was going to this, we thought he was going to this. And they walk, it's a 7-mile walk from Jerusalem to Emmaus. And they get to their house and he's going to go on, but they're like, no, come in. And so we break bread and it says, suddenly their eyes were opened and they recognized him. So I wrote in my Bible, he was with them the whole time. And he let them grieve. He gave them permission to kind of be salty, like, really, you the only one? And to be disappointed, to say, we had hoped, we thought this was it. And it didn't happen that way. And we're really sad about it. Yeah. And so that story really opened my eyes to see, like, it's okay that I'm mad. It's okay that I'm disappointed. It's okay that I cry my face off. Because just like the men in Emmaus, he's walking with me the whole time. And he can handle any emotions I throw at him. And so Luke 24 really did change how I saw grief, how I viewed grief. And now even how I see other people grieving, because I always thought I was maybe doing it wrong or not the right way and maybe even others, how they would respond. Well, they're not grieving how I am. So is that right or wrong? It's neither. I think there is no right or wrong. We grieve how we grieve, and you can't tell people how to grieve. Luke 24.
Wow.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And I love that he was with them the whole time, but whether they knew it or not,
Yes.
he was with them. And that's just looking back on your whole life, like whether you know God's with you or not, he's walking with you.
Yeah. So I started writing the book 10 years ago, and then life happened, and the twins were born, and that really
kids,
rocked
Just a few kids.
my whole life. And so having 4 small children, this kind of took a back burner. But I knew in my heart, like, I want to finish this. I want to finish it for myself, and I want to finish it for Daddy. So I really picked it back up a few years ago. And even then, the Lord was changing how I viewed grief, because the twins are Jack and Emmy. And Jack, we noticed, was delayed and not doing the things that Emmy was doing at the time she was doing. And all kids are different. All 4 of my kids have done different things at different times. But there is kind of a timeline that kids follow. And so he wasn't crawling. He wasn't speaking. He wasn't doing those things. So around 18 months is when I noticed and thought, we have to do something. So we pulled in therapists, and we started all the therapies for speech and physical, all the things. And in 2020, January of 2020, before the world
Great
broke.
month.
Yeah.
Great
January
year.
of 2020.
Great year. Before the world broke, we had him evaluated and officially got a diagnosis that I knew was coming, but still really hard to swallow. And so Jack has autism. He is delayed. They call it a developmental delay. And he has a speech and language impairment. And I knew those things, but to see them on a piece of paper and sit across from, a neuro, a psychologist, whatever you call them, to say like this is where your child is lacking. This is all the things that are wrong with your child. That was really hard. And she was so sweet and so wonderful. She actually was a Christian and prayed with us. Aww, that was special, but still really hard to swallow. And so my heart started grieving, but in a different way. And again, I felt like, am I grieving? Should I be grieving because Jack's not dead? He's alive. And so even then, my view of grief is expanding. And so God just keeps saying, like, what you think is here, but there's so much more. And so I started giving myself permission to grieve someone who's alive, which is a little out of the box, because a lot of books on grief are about someone who died. And I think that's what's special and unique about my book, is that I weave in stories of Daddy, and I do talk about when someone dies, but I also weave in, I'm grieving what we thought would be Jack's life. I'm grieving what we thought what our life would be, because as his parents, we've had to, have those difficult conversations. What happens when he's older? What happens when we die? So I think you can grieve in the way that you want. I think you can grieve for as long as you want. And I think we need to break out of the box that our culture puts us in for grief. That you grieve dead people, and this is how you grieve. And then it's this checklist and this timeline. And why are you still upset? And 10 years later, you still cry talking about it. Like, no, it's okay. I think we have to give everybody permission to grieve in the way that they need. So
It's beautiful. And the book is so beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
I love that you talk about, and you just worded it so beautifully, but just that you can grieve someone that's alive too, or what you thought your future was going to be like, because it's so much more.
yeah.
Than
I can't tell you the name of the research or the study, but there is a study that says parents who are raising a disabled child, or a child with a disability, that their levels of stress and anxiety and depression are just a lot higher. Parenting in general is just
Tough.
really great, but also really hard. And I would be lying if I told you that adding this layer in of Jack and his needs, it's been really stressful. But God is so faithful. And when everything about our life changed, nothing about God did. Nothing. And so actually the night before he was diagnosed, got the official diagnosis, I was messaging a friend and just telling her, like, pray for my heart. I just keep feeling like, steady my heart, Lord. And I said, Jack's going to be the same kid tomorrow. He's not changing. In fact, he's oblivious. He thinks we're just going to play in this, doctor's office. Right. Nothing about Jack is changing tomorrow. And she wrote back and said exactly what my heart needed to hear. She said, and nothing about God changes tomorrow. And it almost took my breath away because I know that. I know that. But my heart needed to be reminded in that moment. Nothing about God changed. So the last 10 years have been a lot. Yeah. And I've grieved and I've been angry. I told my mom one time, I just want to throw plates. And she was like, what?
There are places where you could do that.
Right? I should go.
We should have a plate throwing session.
Let's do it. But again, like, it's okay that I'm angry.
Yep.
It's okay that I went through, I cycle back. I'm not as angry anymore. I was in the beginning. I wasn't ever really angry about Jack, just sad. But even then, thinking outside the box and pushing grief beyond what our culture has made it, there have been so many moments in my grief journey that grief has been good. And that's my favorite chapter in the book, is that grief can be good. If it pushes us to the Father, if it pushes us into his love, if it helps us grow, and then we can help others, who am I to say, don't give me something that you're going to turn into good? So that's my favorite chapter, is the good grief.
And he uses it all.
Yeah. I say that a lot. God wastes nothing.
Yeah.
So they say to write the book that you want to read, and I did. I wrote the book that I needed to read, and then I hope and pray that it can help others. I mean, there's a lot of really good books out there about grief.
Right.
There are. Through the Eyes of a Lion is a really good one. Stephen Curtis Chapman, what's his wife's name? She wrote a really good one, Choosing to See. I read a lot of books about grief, but ultimately, Luke 24 is what really changed me and made the difference in my grief journey.
Yeah.
You say you hope it helps other people. Well, your book was released 2 weeks before my grandmother passed away. And so I got to read it as she was in hospice care, which was filling for sure. It filled my cup. But I actually marked it. But my favorite little insert was, there have been times in my life I have whispered to the Lord, I don't have any words. Can you hear what my heart is saying? And I'm confident he does. And that just, that was so what I needed to hear. And also like words right out of my mouth, because she had dementia and it went really quick. Like some people have dementia for a long time. Her dementia was fast.
Okay.
And something I loved about my grandmother was that she always just knew the right words to say. She was full of wisdom. She didn't waste words for sure. And she was fairly prophetic in my life. She knew about my husband before I met him. Called me and told me about him. I was like, and to a T description. It was weird. Wow. He was also her favorite person after that because she knew about him. Anyway, but the dementia took that away. It took her mind away. And I was mad too. And I would tell God, like, she doesn't deserve, she has spent 75 years loving you. And why in the world would you choose to take her out this way? And like you said, he can take it. And he did. And he was gracious. But I have the tendency when I get in awkward situations to pull back And I felt him just saying, nope, you got to lean in.
Yes.
You have to lean in.
Yes.
Because I'm going to show you something. And I didn't want to, but man, I leaned into her dementia, and it was weird. I wasn't talking to my grandma, and sometimes, most of the time, she didn't know who I was. She could tell me about family, kind of, and she'd ask me the same questions 700 times in 10 minutes. But then one time, the Holy Spirit put on my heart, you need to pray with her. Okay, weird. It happened to be her birthday. And I went to her house and I said, Grandma, I need you to come out to the sunroom with me. I just feel like we need to pray together. And she, okay. The moment we started praying, she was 100% herself. 100%. She named all of her grandkids. She prayed for me specifically. She brought up things from the past. She was there. Yep. And I was just broken because God was showing me like, no, I'm still good. Yes. I'm still here. And she still loves me and I still love her. Yes. Even though dementia sucks and it's holding her brain captive. Yep. Like, I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
And that excerpt that I read, not only did it teach me that grieving, because I was grieving her before she passed.
For sure.
Because she was gone, but not there. And, it just really filled my cup and let me know that, it's okay to feel all these things one time. You can be mad at me and you can still love me.
Yes.
And that's okay because I'm not leaving you.
I even think we're going on the 10-year anniversary for my sweet, sweet daddy. And I still cry when I think about him, when I talk about him. And it's not as raw anymore. It's not as super fresh. In the beginning, honestly, it's so hard because your world is so rocked. But everybody else is normal. Everybody else is just okay. And I just kept thinking, how are you normal? How are you normal? And I put this in the book, this analogy. It's when you're grieving someone, it's like this giant hole in your living room. This giant hole. And if we had a giant hole in here, like we would fall in all the time because you just forget and you'd fall in. And that's how it was with grief. Everything triggered, everything made me so sad and so mad. And I just kept falling in the hole. In time, you kind of learn to just navigate and walk around that hole. You figure it out. But next week, that's going to be the anniversary. And even this week, because that week leading up, when he stopped, that last appointment where the doctor's like, let's call hospice. That's hard. And morphine, all the things. You relive all of them. And I'm remembering this is what we did on this day and this day, and this is when he stopped eating, and this is when he stopped responding. And so all of those come up again. And now I'm to the place where I'm okay if I fall in the hole. And I'm okay if I lay there and I cry and I tell God all the things because he's right there with me.
He's in the hole.
And then I'll climb out and I'll keep going. And hopefully if someone else is in the hole, I can say, hey, I'm coming down with you. Like, I've been here and I get it. So the hole in the living room doesn't have to be a bad thing. I don't know who to give credit to that to. It's someone. It's not my analogy. Not my analogy.
Oh. Well, but you just explained it
well.
Beautifully. Yeah.
Thank you.
So you picked up, did you pick up writing it again in 2020? No, you said 3 years ago.
I think I was still writing a little here and there.
Just kind of on and off?
I would.
Okay.
Right here and there, but in probably 3, when the twins were a little older, I needed to get out of
you had to have a little bit of time.
Yes, when they were a little older, then I thought, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to set a hard deadline, and I'm going to finish.
And
so,
you did.
Yes, and it felt really amazing and awesome.
It was amazing, and you had a book launch team.
Yeah. Yep.
And
now it's in, if
all
you're
sorts
local,
of people.
it's at the Vineyard. And so that felt really, that's new. That's just in the last few weeks. And so that felt
amazing.
Really cool to just walk. It's on Amazon, but everything's on Amazon. And so it felt really special to walk in and think that those are my words on a shelf with a price
incredible. With a price tag.
That's weird, but cool and exciting. So, yeah.
What was your favorite part about writing it, or just the whole process of it? Do you have a favorite part or a least favorite part?
I think the least favorite part was editing.
Yeah.
And I had a launch team and sent it out to several people prior, just saying like, I want you to read for content. Other people, I said, I want you to, edit.
Yeah.
And getting feedback sometimes is hard, but needed.
Yeah.
And so that part was hard. I think my favorite part of the book, my favorite chapter is the good grief, but I think my favorite part is that I tried to really weave in my story throughout this, like a little bit of Dad, a little bit of Jack, a little bit of I'm going to now push you as the reader outside of what you think, but then also what does the Bible say? And I love that I was able to do that, but not even me, that it was already there. I didn't have to look far. I didn't have to dig in the Bible to find what does the Bible say when we're angry? What does the Bible say when we're there's a lot in there. Yeah. Lots of people talked really brave to God.
Yes. Look at the Psalms.
Yeah. Well, and Job.
The Psalms and Job, they are raw. It's raw.
Jeremiah, like all these people in the Bible make me feel better because I'm having all those emotions. And guess what? You put it in the Bible for a reason. So I could feel normal. So I could feel like, yeah, it's okay that I'm asking you why. You're not going to answer, but it's okay that I'm saying why. Yeah. So I think just trying to make it cohesive, that each chapter kind of followed the same, even though they're all so different. You don't have to read it start to finish. If you're just angry, just read the angry chapter. But that I tried to weave in a little bit of me, a little bit of you, and a whole lot of what God says.
And it was done beautifully. And there's questions in it too. Yeah, yes. For anyone who's wanting to work through it. Will you show us the cover, just in case if anyone's gonna go look? You should definitely check it out on Amazon.
Yeah.
If you're not local, we'll link it for sure. But also, it's at the Vineyard.
Yeah, if you want to go into the Vineyard
and buy one off the shelves,
right?
Yeah. One thing I'm thinking of with it too, I think because I got to read it early, but I've also read it afterwards too. But do you care to share a little bit about your mothers in waiting that sort of came out of this too, right?
Same time period? But really did.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I thought it was from the grief.
Yeah.
Do you care to share a little bit about that?
That's fine.
About that? You don't have to, but
he died in January, and about a week later, I was just like at my house, whatever, sad, and I heard, when the Lord just dropped something in your heart. So I heard in my heart, "Don't waste your pain."
Oh.
And I actually wasn't talking to the Lord in that moment.
Isn't that funny how that happened?
I wasn't, because I was a little salty.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, we're not.
Don't talk to me. I'm in the hole.
Not what we're doing right now.
I'm in the hole. You're not in here.
I did. I was like, nope. I'm not. I
can't
too soon.
Can't get there yet. Yeah.
So I just ignored it, which is not like me. There's never been a moment in my life when I have not known, loved, and heard the Lord. Like my whole life. I love that I can say that. And so that wasn't me, but it was. So about a week later, I heard again, "Don't waste your pain." And I thought, okay, I guess I'm going to have to grow up.
Like, what does this even mean right now? Yeah.
So I did. I said, what does that mean? What, really?
Because that's really soon.
It was very soon. It was very soon. And immediately, as soon as I engaged and said, what does that mean? 4 faces in my head, 4 faces of 4 women who I knew from different walks of life. They didn't necessarily know each other. So all those 4 faces popped in my head, and I thought, well, this is a very weird interaction with you, Jesus. Like, what is happening? And again, the Lord said, invite those women to your house. They all want a baby. They're all struggling with infertility, and you're going to pray for them. And I said, no, I'm not.
Not doing
no,
it.
I don't know that I said no. I just felt like That's really awkward.
That's
And
weird.
also, I'm in the
pregnant
hole with Lincoln. I'm in the hole. Like,
and
I
you're in a
I don't want to do this. I didn't tell him no, but I kind of was like, that's awkward.
That's not what I.
But that, that nudge where you just feel like, if I don't obey, I'm not gonna feel well.
Yeah. Yes. No, I've never felt that before.
Oh, okay.
Not the whole last year.
So I did. I called all 4 of them and said, this is going to be the weirdest conversation you've ever had in your whole life. And I want you to come to my house. And I'm going to pray for you to have a baby. And they all responded so wonderfully, so gracious. Like, yes, I'll come. And so they came, and I tried to wear something baggy, not to look 7 months pregnant. But they came, and I had a few friends come, like, be their prayer partner. So I think he kind of was leaning in the end of January, and I scheduled it for the end of February. And so for a month, I asked some of my prayer, like Tammy, Holly, I asked them, pick one woman, and we're all going to, like, zone in on them, pray for them for a month until they come. And so there were 8 of us there, and we all came in my living room, and they shared their stories, and we all talked about infertility, which is a whole other podcast. But we prayed for them, and none of them got pregnant that year. And that was super weird. And then I got pregnant with twins. No. Even weirder. And so now we're on the year anniversary of my dad, right? So it's January again, and I'm having big feelings and big emotions. And God says it again. Don't waste your pain. I'm like, I don't want to waste my pain. I want to wallow in my pain. I want to be sad. I want to eat lots of chocolate. I want to crawl into the hole. That's not wasting. Like, just let me hold on to my pain.
Comfort food.
But again, I felt him like invite these women again.
Same 4 women.
Same 4.
A year
and then
later.
another one, because why not?
Were they as receptive to the invitation
this
time?
They completely were. And so we had 5 then, and I invited them, and we met in Holly's living room, and we prayed over them. And now they all have babies.
Wow.
And so the next year, that's when the babies started coming, and then more babies, and then one had twins. That was fun.
Oh my goodness.
And now they all have children, and it kind of became a thing. Wow. I thought, he asked me to do this one time, I'm going to do it. It's the weirdest thing I've ever done, ever. But I'm going to be obedient. So I did it, and then a year turned into 2, and then the 3rd year I did it, and the 4th year. And then it was, women need to meet more than once a year. And so now we meet quarterly, and I call it Mothers in Waiting. And God just, he, I don't know any other way to say it, but that he brings them to me. I don't advertise.
Right.
It's a very private, very small group. The other day I had an appointment, and my regular person wasn't there. And when you know it, the sub, we start talking, and she is going through infertility treatments. And I was like, time out, sister, because God doesn't do accidents.
Yeah.
And I was like, I happen to lead, and she's just like, yes. And she's so open to it. And I just feel like God did that. Wow. God did that. And so from death, God is showing me, the verse, I give and I take away. The Lord gives, the Lord takes away. May the name of the Lord be praised. And so did the Lord take my dad? Yes, he did. And was I sad about it? You betcha. But in that same moment, when all I saw was my pain and my grief, God seeing all these other women that he wants to give life to. Oh. And so I keep doing it. And I keep showing up, and God does it. God does the miracles. He does it through IVF and IUI and adoption and all of the things. And we have a better success rate than Boston IVF. There you go.
That's incredible, because it's God.
Because it is God.
Yeah.
And I think, what if I didn't? What if I did just sit in the hole and never climb out? And what if I did waste my pain? God wastes nothing. And we're supposed to be like him. And so I need to do the same. And I don't say that in a like, look what I'm doing.
No,
Because when
we know
you are
that.
in that raw, awful grief, it's okay to not.
Right.
It's okay to not minister. It's okay to
Right.
sit in it. That helped me emerge. But that, again, everyone grieves differently.
Yep.
And so I don't want anyone to think, oh, I need to jump into something. No, it's okay
Right.
to sit, to heal, to rest.
Well, and it's important. And like God specifically asked you.
Yes.
This wasn't something that you just thought, oh, that would be a great idea right now.
Yes,
You
I-
didn't want to do it.
I do not recommend when you are in a season of grief inviting strangers to your house to pray.
No,
Probably not.
No. But he asked you because he knew. And I love, Misty has been saying this over and over about several different things I've heard you say. When we see, like you just said, you saw these few women, or you saw your father passing away, and then we have a book from it that's impacting how many people. You have your Mothers in Waiting group that's impacted how many people, plus added new life to the world, which is going to impact them.
Yeah.
Like the ripple effects, I'm just seeing that even in my own life. God has just kept bringing it up to me, like one decision it can have so many ripple effects, or one event, and how we deal with it, what we choose to do with it, whether it's now or later on. Like,
Yeah. And just zooming out.
yes,
I
just
feel
the
like
big picture of it.
That's
He
been the
sees all
consistent
these
lesson the
things.
Lord keeps showing me. Zoom out. You are not seeing this the way I do.
Yeah.
He sees so much more than we do.
Yeah.
So
It's incredible. Thanks for sharing that.
thank you for having me.
I hope that was okay that I asked. I didn't tell you I was going to ask about that, but I just think that's such a unique thing that happened to you literally a week after the passing of your dad, and what God's done with it, let alone the book that is on shelves in a store and on Amazon, and you speak and do all the things.
All the things.
We didn't really like introduce you in the beginning. Sorry.
It's okay.
We did on a previous episode a little bit, but we'll link you
Oh yeah.
for sure.
Your
Your
author
book and your
page.
page, yes, because Misty writes very frequently on her.
Very randomly.
I keep telling her she needs to do like some videos too because she's also hilarious.
Well,
If you haven't noticed, you're hilarious.
thank you. I try.
You're the best.
I get that from my dad.
You're the best combo of like humor and just the soft, tender. You can be laughing 1 second and crying the next. And it's one of my favorite things about you.
That's
You have
pretty
the
much my
whole
daily
package.
life.
It's like all
every
of
day
it
I'm
together.
crying or laughing, like all the time. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much. I just want to add one more thing. I think that I learned a long time ago that my obedience to God's calling my salvation doesn't depend on my yes, but somebody else's might. And so just from me to you, thanks for saying yes, because you've touched so many lives with every yes you said, for the Mothers in Waiting, for writing, for even your Facebook posts, for your speaking at the conference. Like, God is using you to reach more people. So just keep saying yes.
Thank you.
You have a legacy,
You do.
which started with your daddy and
Yes.
your mama.
Yes. And that's
a whole other
dedicated the book to
story,
him.
like,
I
too.
dedicated the book to him when I finished, when I like knew it was finished. I'm ready. Let's send this off. I looked up and I said, I did it, Daddy.
No.
I finished the book.
And he would be so proud of you.
He better be.
Oh,
Good
he
grief.
would. He would. Oh, he would.
Yeah.
He's
Sure,
proud
he'd be
of you.
doing
We're
a
proud of you,
dance.
too.
Yes, we're proud of
Yeah.
you too, as your friends. Like,
Thank you.
it's awesome
Yes.
to watch you
It is.
and see all that you're doing. Keep doing it.
I'll try.
Keep writing on Facebook
And writing
and wherever,
books.
and writing books.
Yes,
Yeah, I
my
was
next
gonna
book
say,
is
do you
about
have-
Mothers in Waiting. My next book is going to
And you've
highlight
started it,
each
right?
of the. Yes, it's going to highlight each of the women.
I love it.
Yes, that feels really fun. And then, I mean, the thread throughout the whole thing is that God did it. I don't. Yeah, it's not me.
He's a
It's
God of
him.
miracles. Yeah.
I'm excited
Love
about
it.
that.
Plus, you have another children's book too
Yeah.
that will
Yes.
sometime
Yes.
you're working on.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's doing all the things.
Yeah.
Trying.
Yeah.
So since we don't have
Awesome.
publishing dates on those, it's very important that you follow our links in the
Yes,
description
and
so you
find
can
Mistie.
Yes, you can find
Transition.
Mistie and stay up to date on all that's going on. And while you're waiting, you should buy one of these.
Yes, you
We'll
absolutely
link
should.
that on Amazon.
And
but
even
also
I'll
you can
say,
go-
even if you don't feel like you're in a season of grieving,
You will at some
It's
point.
always
you
good to
will at
study
some
up.
point, and it's such a good book, no matter what. Like all of us have had disappointments in life. It's beautiful, beautifully written,
Thank you.
and relevant to anyone, regardless of whether or not you feel like you're in a grief stage. So yes, go buy it.
Always good to study up.
Yes.
You never be too prepared.
Yeah. Well, and
Even though
I
you
mean,
won't know
God
what's
can
coming.
speak to you through that, and I mean, did to me even through that. And I wasn't in what I would call a season of grieving, but yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. We've had a blast talking to you, Mistie, and we
Yes,
hope you'll
Mistie,
come back
thanks for
soon.
coming.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh yes, we're gonna have you back
Oh,
again.
oh.
Don't you worry.
Okay.
And before you go, make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button
Yes.
and the notification bell so that you get
Yes,
notified
please.
every Tuesday when we have a new episode. And until next time, grab a shield. We'll see you out there.
See ya.